Hey, I'm just trying to make another video on the Mgtow people that I keep continuing to see, and what I think. So their modus operandi is not necessarily extraordinarily clear from like an axiomatic perspective. The axioms they do make are pretty easily, what's the word, disproven, debunked, whatever. Oftentimes, I hear a lot of these guys saying like the all women are bad thing. The all women are going to basically steal your house, steal your car, steal your steal your kids, steal your money, cut you in half basically via divorce court. And this is definitely true. Well, not all. That's the issue. All women, all of anybody is an oversimplification. I think what they're missing is that these guys are acting out of the kindness of their heart due to things that have often happened to them. But oftentimes their target audience is, or not their target audience, but let's say the people who watch their stuff exclusively are actually, fuck, not exclusively. The people who watch their stuff disproportionately are excluded young men and pickup artists. Now, basically, a woman's body is roughly the same as a man's ability to get stuff done. So, when a guy is telling other men to pump and dump, is telling other men to use women for their bodies and not settle down, not make settling down with one woman their primary aim, basically telling the man to be a slut, you've got to realize, like Bill Burr said in his Infinite Wisdom, a gold digging whore is the female equivalent of, well, he said a wife beater, but I'm going to say a promiscuous male, like a player. So these guys oftentimes, like almost virtually everyone I've seen, is either resentment, like they have a resentful, they have like this very like feminine, high pitched sort of like autistic rage to their voice that is it's just not going to get them where they want anyway. Like they're the people who often never have the opportunity to get a lot of girls, and or they just don't have their fair selection. They just don't have a good pool to choose from, so they know they're going to get stuck with a subpar female eventually. Shout out to Alexander Grace for being like this. And then on the more positive end of the spectrum, I see guys who are older who kind of have their shit together, who have been burned, and start making these videos cautioning people. And the cautioning is fine. It's just that a lot of the stuff they're cautioning against ought to be obvious if people have two eyes open. Because the idea that women are as dangerous as men, I mean, it's overlooked by a lot of guys when they're like 15. But if you get to like 20, 23, mid 20s even, and you don't know that women can chop you in half mentally, verbally, emotionally, and use children as weapons, you just don't have a lot of world experience. Like you must have gone straight from not off the beaten path, like high school, college, undergrad, job, and you've just been working for 2 years and you've never stepped off the beaten path. And often the women that they're warning against are women who have debilitated physiologies often, or neurophysiologies. These are women who are genetically addled in many ways. They're prone to fits of sort of violence around the menstrual cycle. They're prone to like overwhelming, irredeemable sort of shame type behaviors. A lot of these women are also like very liberal, like rabid liberal types. I don't mean like common sense liberal. I mean like the type of women that are emerging now where they SJWs, they're predominantly female creatures. They're predominantly low IQ, neurotic, or low verbal IQ, possibly a slightly higher abstract visual ability to conceptualize things, but their ability to articulate is often quite retarded. And I mean that like technically. I don't mean like as an insult. They're neurotic. They have personality disorders. I think there was a study done of SJW females, and they were often the most often like far right left people, or sorry, far authoritarian left people, far right left, fuck am I saying, were shown to have personality disorders and low verbal IQ, as well as an excessive amount of reflexive empathy. And empathy runs on the oxytocin circuit, and what these people are effectively doing is they're prone to radically overvaluing people and then disregarding people that are not them or are not kin. That's basically what oxytocin does. It's responsible for rabid group behavior and tribalism, and it's also responsible for like sort of a sense of compassion. But when you pair that with a personality disorder, these women go crazy basically, and they oscillate between shaming men and loving minorities and all this crazy stuff. There's nothing wrong with loving minorities, but they reject their own group in favor of the outcast or the lesser. Like they favor the minority over the majority, which obviously is not productive if you multiply it large scale. So all that to say, a lot of the women, these women, female traits, these Mgtow guys, by and large, are describing are traits that are associated with this, are associated with low verbal IQ, emotional sort of dysregulation, and excessive empathy or attachment, the clinginess of oxytocin, love, bonding chemicals. Now, my point to all of this is that because a lot of these men are not making the best arguments in the world, and they are often very emotionally dysregulated, and they are often craving this intimate desire but not getting enough of it or any of it, they are prone to make these videos that reach out to other genetically dispossessed men such as themselves. And even the guys who are older, like entrepreneurs in cars, who make good, give basically pretty good advice, even though it's a little focused in the anti-women direction. But it's still common sense. A lot of what he says is just basic. Like, if you've lived on Earth for more than 20 years, you ought to know a lot of it. Even these people, it's very, very easy for young guys who are emotionally dysregulated, prone to rationalization. They have a lot of feelings and not a whole lot of ability to articulate them. So they go off and they find these rationalizations to help them articulate their poorly formulated emotions-based reactions to the world. And often these guys are people who have been abused by women. They've been hurt in the past by women. And as such, they do not see the positive side, and they don't see the benefits of settling down. So if you fall into this trap, I don't know how much you can do about it, but I recommend you try to see the positive aspect of a stable female-male relationship.